Hello, all. Welcome to the curated series on Indian cinema. Today's topic is representation of caste in Indian cinema. The varna, or the caste structure, is an integral part of Hinduism. Earlier, it started on the basis of one's profession, but later transmogrified on the basis of birth. It became an enabling factor for the ones at the top of the hierarchy, but disabling and discriminatory for the ones at the bottom, especially for those who are considered out of that hierarchy. The fifth Varna, often referred as Dalits in its most modern assertion. Of course, Indian cinema has been often questioned for its one sided narrative of the high class and high castes, and its failure to acknowledge or to take up stories of the marginalized. It has been a problematic issue, which till date has not been addressed effectively by one of the biggest film industries of the world. But it has been challenged from time to time as well. Many interesting films have been made by regional filmmakers on the issues of caste effectively, and it was also explored intensively by the parallel film movement of India in the 1970s and 80s. But unfortunately, the mainstream Hindi cinema has been somewhat reluctant to take on these issues wholeheartedly. To talk more on this, I have Dr. Ratan Lal and Vidushi with me. Dr. Ratan Lal is an author, activist, and an academic, currently working as an associate professor at Hindu College, New Delhi. He has published many books, including Kitne Rohit on Rohit Vemula and Atrocities on Dalits in Educational Institutes. He recently published a Hindi translation of The Doctor and the Saint by celebrated author Arundhati Roy. Vidushi is a media and IT consultant at Dr. Ambedkar Foundation, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. She is a PhD scholar of cinema studies at Jawaharlal Nehru University. Vidushi has over 10 years of experience of working with the TV and film industry in Mumbai. Welcome, Ratan, and welcome, Vidushi. So, Ratan, can you tell me what is your view on the representation of caste in Hindi films?
See, I am a student of history and a professional historian. I am not a historian of cinema, but I have some idea about the history of India, especially caste. And I have done my PhD on the legendary historian Kashi Prasad Jaiswal, who belonged to a backward community. So I have a fair enough idea about Indian society. What I have asked is the question may be little bit modified. Caste and religion has always been represented in Indian cinema. Now the question is, from where you see the story. It is like if half glass is water is there, then you may say half is empty, I may say half is full. So if you see from upper caste and Hindu perspective, it is always there. It has always been there. And you have to decipher the story, you have to read in between the lines. Heterodox sects like Jainism and Buddhism have always been ignored, and Muslims are generally represented as villain in Indian cinema. Recently, this is the recent development. So, overall, there is a caste and communal character of Indian cinema generally. So, if you see from Dalit perspective, including backward perspective, obviously the Hindi cinema, commercial cinema, has more or less always been ignorant, and there are multi reason for that. Multi reason for that. It is social, economic, political, psychological, cultural as well. So obviously, the caste, and without speaking about caste, no institution in India is complete, including Hindi cinema. So Dalits have obviously always underrepresented.
When we talk about Hindi commercial films, there is hardly any, like, not many films are made on the representation of Dalits in the film. Now that you have introduced what caste system is and how Dalits have been marginalized in all these years, and how they are coming, like, they are progressing, but it will take more time for them to come out of it, or come, still the time there is caste system. But Dalits have always been shown that they can't articulate, they can't, they can't show what they feel, they can't, they're always oppressed, they're always marginalized in these films. They have not, there has hardly been any mainstream character or a hero or a heroine or a lead character who has portrayed a Dalit himself. There are very only a few people or a few characters who have been talked, who we have talked about. Like, when we say Ajay Devgan has played a couple of roles in Hindi cinema, who's a very popular commercial actor, but then he stopped playing these kinds of role. Why? Like, when we see why why Ajay Devgan was chosen to play a Dalit character, because he was dark skinned, because he was not as good looking as the other mainstream actors. Why is this that none of the Khans, who are the very good looking Khans, or a very good looking Ritik Roshan or any other caste person, has played a Dalit role? Because Ajay Devgan has played many times, like, in Akrosh and the other films also, where he has played a Dalit actor. Whereas in only one film where Saif Ali Khan played a Dalit person in Arakshan, in that particular film also many questions were raised that how a Nawab, such a good looking person, was shown a Dalit. This, people said that this was a wrong representation of Dalit. So yeah, so they have different different things going on. Different people are talking about how Dalits are to be represented and how they should deal with issues and everything. And always, whatever films have been made, they've always been shown as marginalized. Always, they never had a normal hero who's just a Dalit without any issues around.
Ratan, you have put in an interesting point of view, and the point of view that Vidushi has also put in here is very interesting. So, my next question to you both is: do you think Hindi commercial cinema has been cautious regarding taking up issues of caste, especially of the marginalized or the Dalit community?
I think they have been very cautious about taking the issues of caste, because whenever they have even, like, minutely tried, like, whenever they have tried to show the caste issues, they have mostly been pulled down. They have not been accepted by the Indian people also. Like, when we talk about, say, Arakshan, like, such a powerful film, and big actors like Amitabh Bachchan and Saif Ali Khan and Deepika Padukone was a part of it. It was not a great, it was not a commercial success. It did not do well because not many people went to watch that film also. When we talk about Article 15, same story. It was a very beautifully made film, and dealing with a very interesting issue. It was critically acclaimed, and it was it was said that it is a beautiful made film, very nice, and how they have shown the film and dealt with the issues. That's amazing. But again, not it did not get many Hindi audience. This was the film of Ayushmann Khurrana, which did not do that well as compared to his rest of the films. They have been a much like, bigger success as compared to his other films that he has done before. I would like to add one more point, that there is a Marathi film called Sairat, right? It dealt with caste issue, how a lower caste person gets married to an upper caste, and they dealt it with beautifully. A Hindi film is made by Karan Johar, and there they eliminate the whole crux of the film was a intercaste marriage, how a Dalit person suffers, or how a Dalit family suffers. That gets eliminated completely in Karan Johar's film, and they change it to a rich and poor category. Instead of a high caste issue, it became a status issue, and they completely escaped it. They did not want to deal with caste. And when filmmakers like Karan Johar, such a big prominent filmmaker, when he is escaping, when he doesn't want to make a film dealing with this, such an important issue, which was, and Sairat, when we talk about Sairat, it was a huge success. It was a very big and very acclaimed film, and it was a beautifully made film.
Definitely, definitely. They are conscious about the taking issue of untouchability, caste discrimination, atrocities on Dalits and backwards, the snatching of their constitutional rights, and all kinds of violence. If you read Ambedkar, so you will see that Ambedkar, even he was there, the same thing is there even in 21st century. So Hindi cinema, even all institution in India, they are cautious about taking up issue of the caste. And to understand this, we have to understand the genesis of the varna and untouchability. For, as you rightly said, fourfold division: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And there are numerous castes and subcastes within each category. Each category, if you take Brahman, then you will find numerous castes within the Brahman. So this is the unique. India has been a unique society, right? And the untouchables, the Pancham Varna, is politically Dalits and constitutionally scheduled caste. They are outside the Varna system, and that was the bone of contention between Ambedkar and Gandhi. So Varna, caste, untouchability, it's Janmana. So you can change your class, but you cannot change your caste. So it starts before the birth, and it continues even after death, till the sun and moon and earth will alive. So here it is interesting to read Ambedkar. So 13th October, he announced at Yaula, Maharashtra, popularly known as Yaula Conference, that he will not die as a Hindu. So in that background, Ambedkar organized a Mahar Sabha at Dadar on 30th and 31st May 1936. So he gave more than 30-page lecture. This is a long lecture. And important highlights I'll give you. So he says, three types of strength are known to man. One is manpower, that is the number. Second is wealth. And third is intellectual strength. So describing all these strength, he says, none of these are available with you. See, if a community which has been deprived through centuries from every human rights, education, food, clothes, and everything, and it is a mindset. It continues even in abroad, America and England, and anywhere you go, you will see that if there is a Indian colony, then you will see the caste hierarchy, caste discrimination at work. So according to Shastra, a Dalit untouchable cannot possess wealth, cannot educate himself or herself, and cannot wear a good clothes, and cannot have hygienic food or water. So even in 21st century, you may have different stories about the horse riding in marriage ceremony, and all kinds of things are going on. The point here is, what I am trying to make is that if a community have been ignored and deliberately deprived from centuries, then how come they will be represented in any institution, including cinema, any institution? If you see, discrimination is a mindset. I said that it is a Janmana, it's by birth. So if you go to moon, you will find caste structure there. So if Indians are on the moon or Mars even, they will carry with them the caste, hierarchy, the caste mindset, and all. So this is a continuous phenomena. Even I'm on the Delhi University campus. I teach history here, and I have been fighting for several cases and all that. So at every institution, cinema, judiciary, academics, politics, business, tycoon, everywhere it exists. So cinema is not outside of the society. It is a part of it. It is a extension of society. So something is visible there, something is not visible there, but you have to decipher. You have to decipher the story.
My next question to you is more about the films, and till date we keep on talking about caste representation in cinema, but it all always goes back to the films which were made in 1930s like Achut Kanya, or 1950s films Sujata, or in recent times, I think the latest one was Article 15. But then that there are these just handful of films that one can refer as representative of Dalit issues, and it signifies a huge problem of underrepresentation of Dalits, or the caste issues, the true caste issues in Indian
Mm,
cinema. What is your take on this?
Whenever we talk about good films made that showed Dalit representation, we always go back, right? In the early, when first Bombay talkie film and this and that initial films, they actually showed at that time how Dalits were represented. Right now we don't have any of that. Right now we are not showing how Dalits are in in the cities or in the towns. Whenever we talk about Dalits in small villages and small towns. What about the Dalits that are present in the metropolitan cities? Why are they not represented? Why are they not, like, do they, why can't, they show Dalits without any issue? But they're not doing that. Sometime back, when even when we talk about Shah Rukh and Amir Khan, they did touch casteism at in the films like Swades and Lagan. Lagan came in 2001, and in 2001, where Lagan is a story about how the Indians were fighting with the Britishers, and how they did not want to pay Lagan the tax, and for which they decide to play cricket. And that cricket team was a representation of India, right? Because they had different type of different religion people in that. They had a Sardar, they had a Muslim, they had Pandit, and all those like different categories of people. But and they were all fighting. They wanted to play cricket to fight against the British. But when the lead character asks that, let's bring in Dalit boy in the team. First, when we talk about the representation of Dalit in that film, a Dalit person is shown very, very, very marginalized, who cannot articulate, who can't, in the entire film, he is not able to say one sentence. Why is that? When everybody was given a dialogue, that Dalit person was not given a single dialogue. He could just, he would, whenever he's sad, he would cry. Whenever he's happy, he'll just be happy. He won't say any word throughout the film. Then that Dalit is shown deformed, right? And why is that? They could have given that whatever thing to, they are showing that we are taking a Dalit just because of his deformity. Otherwise, we would have not taken a Dalit. That is shown in the film. Why is that? That you wanted a 11th player, but you're taking him because he's deformed, and you are fighting with the town or the village that we are taking a Dalit because it will be a he is deformed and he will help that ways. First, I like, you are showing a Dalit always deformed and weak, and and you see the other 10 players in the cricket team, they are all very well built. The Dalit is shown very weak and very, and hardly wearing any, wearing torn clothes and everything, whereas other people are all well dressed. He's dark skinned, of course. He's like, in village there were many other dark skinned people also. But the whole presentation and portrayal of that Dalit person, that A, he's deformed, B, he's shown weak, and he is not being accepted by the team, even when they're ready to pay 3 times the tax, but they do not want the Dalit person to be in the team. Because of which, many other people, they say that we won't play cricket, we are ready to pay 3 times the Lagan, but we don't want a Dalit to be in the team. In that harmony itself, you're showing caste system. In that harmony itself, you're showing that we discriminate against Dalits. That is the issue. That is the representation of India, actual real representation of India. That with that harmony, yes, we are all very good people, we stay together, but yes, we discriminate against caste.
so they have been represented as starved, pale, outside, discriminated, You can have ever seen a film story where Dalits have been represented as hero? So seldom, rarely. Even the legendary film, Hindi film Gandhi, which was made in Hollywood, completely ignored Ambedkar's role. And as a student of history, I can see without Ambedkar, Gandhi is not complete, because Gandhi also learned some, something from Ambedkar, right? So you have to understand the caste and class character of the director, producers, and actors, actresses, and all that. So now in 21st century, since there is emergence of middle class and Dalits have now money to buy something, so there is a little bit a transformation from earlier period. So Dalits are represented, but in a different manner. If you name Chulbul Pandey, uh, the recent movie of Salman Khan, so he is a Pandey. So Srivastav, Singh, Chauhan, Suryavansham, right? So it is like that. So it is represented mainly as mainly by the caste Hindus. Mm. Dalits, yep, heroines, hero heroines. Today is birth anniversary of Jhalkari Bai, mm, the legendary warrior. She fought against the British rule with Rani Jhansi, Lakshmi Bai. But where is the history? Mm. So we have to understand the class and caste character of the Indian filmmakers, right? Jabbar Patel was the man who brought Ambedkar into the picture, the Marathi filmmaker. And after 1980s, when there was Kanshiram's movement, Palm Safe and DS4, and finally the establishment of Baspa, so Kanshiram took responsibility to awaken the Dalit society. So when there was a mobilization, so Gandhi brought Ambedkar in North India, Jhalkari Bai, all Bahujan heroes. Mm. After that, there was gradual change. Mm. Akhir Kyun, this film featured Smita Patil and Rajesh Khanna. So published, released in 1985. So in that film, I saw Ambedkar in the background. Before that, 70s, 80s, Ambedkar was not even in the picture, in the court, in the thana, in the police, in any official thing. So that it is obvious Ambedkar got Bharat Ratna in 90s in BP Singh government. So if Ambedkar was not accepted, and it was very difficult to accept Ambedkar by the caste Hindus, so how can you feel that Dalits will be fairly represented in Indian cinema? Indian cinema. So Ambedkar is a world icon.
Yeah. All right. So, what do you think is the way forward? How can stories of Dalits be told in a strong manner in commercial films? Do you think any changes are taking place or not?
With the advent of the OTT platforms and how that, like, we are getting very good content, and we are talking about sexuality, we are talking about different other marginalized sections as well, which are there in India. I hope that there are more filmmakers who talk about Dalits. I hope, I want that, there should be more films which are dealing with Dalit issues, yes, but also showing that, Dalits, how Dalits have gradually progressed, and how with the, how, like, when we talk about Dr. Ambedkar and his policies that were there in Constitution, how they have transformed a few lives, a few Dalit lives, how his role, how reservation, when we talk about reservation, how reservation has helped Dalits to come out of caste system, and how, what is the need of intercaste marriages, and why it should be shown, like, we have shown like a lot of inter-religion marriages, but we don't have very prominent intercaste marriage films. Whatever we have, like, we have shown, like, yes, whenever we have shown intercaste marriages, people are getting killed. This is what we show, that, intercaste marriage is such a no-no in Indian cinema. This is what we are showing in Indians. But we need to show that now it's getting accepted, and how it is a normal trend, or how things are right now. The current status needs to be shown. And we should just not focus on villages. I feel right now we are focusing only Dalit representation in villages and small towns and everything. How Dalits are portrayed and how they are in metropolitan cities, that needs to be talked about or shown in Indian cinema. This is what I feel.
After 90s, there has been change. There is emerging middle class among the Dalits. Entrepreneurs are coming. Then Dicky, Dalit commerce entrepreneurs and all, they are coming. So they have to take responsibility themselves. Director like Ranjit is there, the good example. So Dalits have to create their own cultural capital, own cultural, parallel cultural, as the blacks did in America. So they have to create. They don't have every time to depend on reservation. Reservation is withering away now. This right regime government, they are taking off all rights given to Dalits and all. So the Dalits have to take responsibility themselves. Universities, professors are there, but we are lacking in Hindi cinema. Some directors, some entrepreneurs, some millionaires must come, and they have to develop alternative cinema. That is the fair way, I understand.
And I think you've given quite a good insight into how caste works within Indian cinema. I think, especially the representation of Dalits, the so called untouchables, who always are marginalized. Until date in the commercial Indian cinema, they are being treated as marginalized, and their stories needs to come out. Probably it's for them to take the onus to tell their own stories. Their own experience needs to be shared, and that stage needs to be grabbed. Thank you so much.